Welcome to our channel where we dive into the most chilling and mysterious tales that keep you up at night. Are you ready to face your fears? Tonight we bring you 3 spine-tingling ghostly apparitions seen in deserted schools. Places where laughter and learning once filled the halls, now echoing with the silence of forgotten memories and lingering spirits. Make sure to turn off the lights, sit back, and prepare to be scared. You might want to grab a blanket or a friend because tonight we journey into the heart of fear. Imagine, if you will, a crumbling schoolhouse at the edge of town. Abandoned years ago, windows boarded up, a playground reclaimed by nature. It stands as a skeletal reminder of times gone by. Locals whisper tales of strange occurrences within its decaying walls. They say the school isn't as empty as it seems. They say someone or something still keeps watch. Our story takes us deeper into the heart of this forgotten schoolhouse, into the echoing silence of its vacant hallways. It centers around the janitor, a man named Arthur, who dedicated his life to this very building. Even in retirement, he couldn't stay away. He continued to care for the school long after the last student had left. One stormy night, Arthur suffered a fatal heart attack in the very halls he tended to. His spirit, some say, never truly left. Now, witnesses report flickering lights, the faint scent of cleaning supplies, and most unsettling of all, the sound of a squeaky mop bucket echoing through the empty corridors. A group of teenagers, eager to test the local legends, decided to spend the night in the abandoned school. Armed with flashlights and nervous energy, they dared each other to venture into the darkened classrooms. They were met with an unnerving chill and the feeling of being watched. As they crept down the hallway, they heard it. The distinct squeak of a mop bucket slowly being dragged across the floor. Their blood ran cold. They froze, listening intently. The sound grew closer, accompanied by the faint scent of ammonia. One of the teenagers, emboldened by fear, swung his flashlight towards the sound. The beam illuminated a figure at the end of the hall, a tall, gaunt silhouette, clad in what appeared to be a janitor's uniform. He was pushing a mop bucket, his head bowed as if lost in his work. They watched in terror as the figure continued its methodical cleaning, seemingly oblivious to their presence. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the figure vanished into thin air. The teenagers, paralyzed with fear, stood in the eerie silence, the squeak of the mop bucket still echoing in their ears. They knew then that they were not alone. Our next tale takes us to the rural outskirts of a forgotten town, where an old elementary school stands in silent decay. Surrounded by overgrown weeds and forgotten play equipment, the schoolhouse emanates an unsettling aura, a sense of melancholy mixed with dread. It's a place where children's laughter once echoed in the halls, now replaced by an unsettling silence, broken only by the wind whistling through broken windows. Locals tell of a young girl named Sarah, a bright and cheerful soul who loved coming to school. One tragic afternoon, Sarah wandered away from the playground, unseen, unheard. A frantic search ensued, but Sarah was never found. Her disappearance remains a mystery, a wound that never healed in the heart of the town. Over time, whispers began to circulate, whispers of a child's cry echoing from the abandoned schoolhouse. Some dismissed it as the wind, others as the cries of stray animals seeking shelter. But a few, those who dared to venture close enough, knew better. They recognized the sound of a heartbroken child, a soul lost and alone. One night, a group of paranormal investigators, drawn by the chilling stories, decided to spend the night in the old schoolhouse. Armed with cameras and recording equipment, they hoped to capture evidence of Sarah's presence. They set up camp in the school's library, a room still filled with dusty books and faded posters. As darkness enveloped the schoolhouse, they began to hear it. A soft sob, barely audible at first, carried on the breeze. It seemed to be coming from down the hall, from the direction of the old kindergarten classroom. Their hearts pounding, the investigators slowly made their way towards the sound. They reached the classroom door, the paint peeling, the name Sarah still visible on a faded name tag stuck to the desk. One of the investigators, his hand trembling, slowly pushed the door open. The sound of crying intensified, echoing through the small classroom. They scanned the room, their flashlights illuminating dusty toys and tiny chairs. But there was no sign of a child. And yet the crying continued, filled with a sadness that chilled them to the bone. One of the investigators, overcome with emotion, felt a tear roll down his cheek. Our final tale takes us to the outskirts of a bustling city, where a towering Gothic-style school building stands in stark contrast to the modern structure surrounding it. Abandoned for decades, the school is a brooding monolith, its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world. Locals speak of a darkness that permeates the building, a lingering presence that chills them to the bone. Legend has it that the school was once presided over by a stern headmaster, a man named Mr. Blackwood, known for his strict discipline and unwavering authority. He ruled the school with an iron fist, instilling fear rather than respect in the hearts of his students. One fateful night, Mr. Blackwood vanished without a trace, his disappearance shrouded in mystery. Some say he met with foul play, his demise at the hands of a disgruntled student, or perhaps a vengeful colleague. Others believe he simply couldn't bear to leave his beloved school, his spirit forever tethered to the halls he once patrolled. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: something lingers in the abandoned school, something dark and foreboding. Over the years, there have been countless reports of strange occurrences within the school's desolate walls, footsteps echoing through empty corridors, disembodied voices whispering in the dead of night, and most unsettling of all, the sighting of a shadowy figure that roams the halls, a spectral presence some believe to be the ghost of Mr. Blackwood. One evening, a group of urban explorers, drawn by the school's sinister reputation, decided to venture inside. Armed with flashlights and cameras, they hoped to document their experience, to capture evidence of the paranormal activity that had become synonymous with the abandoned building. They stepped cautiously through the shattered doorway, their breath catching in their throats as a wave of cold air washed over them. The air inside was heavy with the smell of decay, and dust motes danced in the faint beams of their flashlights. They made their way down a long, darkened hallway, the sound of their own footsteps echoing eerily around them. As they approached the end of the hall, one of the explorers, a young woman named Sarah, stopped dead in her tracks. "Did you see that?" she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. The others turned to face her, their eyes wide with apprehension. "There, at the end of the hall," she continued, pointing a trembling finger towards a doorway at the far end of the corridor. "I saw a figure, a dark silhouette just for a second, then it was gone." The others exchanged uneasy glances. They had heard the stories, of course, but none of them had truly believed them, until now. With a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity, they slowly made their way towards the doorway Sarah had indicated. As they drew closer, they noticed that the door, which had been closed when they first entered the hallway, was now slightly ajar. They could hear a faint sound coming from within, a low, murmuring voice, as if someone were speaking from the other side. One of the explorers, emboldened by a sudden surge of adrenaline, pushed the door open the rest of the way. The room beyond was a former classroom, its walls lined with dusty chalkboards and its floor littered with the remnants of long-forgotten lessons. Standing at the front of the classroom, facing the chalkboard, was a tall, shadowy figure. It was difficult to make out any specific details in the dim light, but the figure appeared to be wearing a long coat, and its head was bowed slightly as if it were writing something on the board. The explorers watched in stunned silence as the figure continued to write, its movements slow and deliberate. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the figure turned to face them, its features still obscured by the shadows. The explorers gasped in unison, their blood turning to ice in their veins. For a moment, the figure simply stood there, its dark eyes boring into them, as if daring them to challenge its presence. Thank you for joining us on this eerie journey through deserted schools and the ghostly apparitions that haunt their halls. We've explored the chilling tales of the phantom janitor, the crying child, and the shadow teacher. Each story a chilling reminder that some places hold on to their pasts long after the lights have gone out. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-chilling content. We're always on the lookout for the most terrifying tales from the darkest corners of the internet. So be sure to let us know in the comments if you have any stories you'd like us to share. Until next time, stay safe and keep an eye out for the unexplained. You never know what might be lurking just around the corner. Sweet dreams.